Hi, my name is Teri Andrez. I am playing Ariana in Limelight.
Okay. And Teri, how did you get the role of Ariana in Limelight?
The casting director had just casted me in something and asked me to put this on tape, and I actually auditioned for Mia and then got Ariana.
Oh, okay. So different role, and
Yeah.
then you were pleasantly surprised with a part. Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think of today's social media landscape? I know the subject of the film is a character who's an actor and that, narcissism and that constant self-promotion, but it seems like it's a necessary, I don't want to call it an evil. Yeah, but there's good and bad to it. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on it? Because as an actress, I'm sure that you have a lot of things that you have to do in that realm as well. Tweet and Instagram.
I think it's real. I think it's hard. It's hard to have to promote yourself as the product over and over, and I think one of the big things is people do get very much so almost narcissistic or in their heads about it, which is, it's a hard thing to make somebody try to make themselves sound like the best product and the best thing and the best person that they could possibly be, and like try to sell themselves over and over and not become big-headed, I guess, or at least look like it. I don't know. I've lived in LA for 6.5 years, and for sure, you see people fall into that evil, into becoming so self-involved or evolving into someone they're not because they think it betters themselves in any which way. I don't know, it's LA, I feel like, or Hollywood, you lose yourself very easily. People.
Well, it's interesting because you were telling me you're from Northern California?
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then I had a house in Northern California as well. So I grew up split. I was back and forth my whole life.
Okay.
And yeah, Northern California and Pittsburgh are very different than Southern California.
But it sounds like both those places are more down to earth, probably in a lot of ways. What was that transition like? You said you've been here 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, 6.5.
Must have been almost like culture shock in some way, or maybe not.
Yeah, I traveled a lot growing up, and I was always into acting and everything in the arts. But I think, like, decisions I made when I first moved out here, and like my view on everything when I first moved out here is incredibly different now.
How so?
I think I was way more naive when I first moved here, which is funny with the storyline, and the character is like you get here, you're almost on a high, you're excited, and everyone you meet, it's really interesting, and everyone's so unique and has so much to offer. And then I don't know, for me, I realized that I guess I was very lonely very fast here, and like I'm very trusting, so for me, I guess meeting everyone out here and learning slowly how much people lie and fake, and how many people are actors in their full-time life 24/7. So it is, I think I love the business, I'm still doing it, but you also learn how to get like a million walls up and learn how to filter out as well as you can what's real and what's fake, and who's using you and who's not, and who's lying and who's telling the truth. It's a learning process, and I think everyone's going through it, and it's a scary place because it's a lot of big fish from small towns coming in here.
So looking back on before you came down here, do you think there's anything that could have prepared you for that, or it's just the sort of thing where you have to go through it?
I think no matter what, you have to go through it. I think even when you grow up in it, because I grew up with it around me my entire life, but whenever you're on your own, I think no matter what business or what anything you go into, when you're 18 and you're all by yourself and you have your own place and you're like, I'm an adult, you fall flat on your face like 1,000 times because if you realize that you didn't listen to what people were telling you. You have to go through it.
Who is your character in the film, in Limelight? And what is she like?
I play Ariana, and she is kind of the worst of them all. She's an actress / model and I guess a star fucker. She's just, I don't know. She dates 3 guys. She's very much so into drugs. She does whatever producers say. She's kind of lost completely. She thinks that if she does everything that a producer or that someone higher up wants, then she'll end up being successful. And I don't see her ever becoming so. I think she just falls deeper and deeper into habits that are hard to break, and yeah, she's just a very scandalous, lost girl, I'd say.
And the archetype of Ariana is common, and maybe all of us have that part in us to some degree,
Yeah.
Small part, whatever. What advice would you give to a real life Ariana? Let's say there was someone that came from a small town like most people do and had become that. Not everybody takes that route, but was that heightened version of that archetype? What would you say?
I'd say that if everything you're doing feels very wrong, then it's probably wrong. Like, the business is a business, and it's got dark sides, but if everything you're doing is just manipulating, and especially with actors, like, you can sleep with as many as you want. I don't think they're ever going to get you anything. And with producers, if they want you in something, they're going to work with you professionally. They're not going to whore you out, which my character is pretty much being whored out for everything. And especially, she gets so lost into addiction and drugs. And that won't help you in any business. Acting, modeling, anything, if you're doing drugs, it's only a slippery slope. So everything Ariana is pretty negative. So I don't know, I'd say try to keep it as professional as possible. Try to be true to yourself. And it's a scary city because of you do feel cut down. So many young, beautiful girls move out here and they instantly get plastic surgery or change this about themselves and that about themselves, and they lose themselves. And they try to find their self-worth in somebody else, and you can't. And they try to become somebody else, and that makes you less unique than anything. So I'd say anyone that's in Ariana's shoes needs to take a step back and be who they are and stay away from pretty much any type of drugs, late night things, producers promising you things like at 3 in the morning is probably not true. I don't know. It's a hard question. There's I could talk for hours to an Ariana and like pray to God that she would not do what she does.
Why say yes to this role even though there are many Arianas here? What intrigued you about it, and why say yes to it?
I think any actress wants to do the down and gritty. Like, it's a hard role and it's a fun rule. You get to do things that you wouldn't normally do, and also it's, with this movie, I feel like it speaks a lot of dark truths. Like, it talks about, because he loses his brother, and it's shocking. Like, he's there one day and he's actually just gone the next. It's very honest. From a drug overdose, and his little brother never did the drugs, but he just got caught up in it, and my character, sadly, is one of the ones that got him to do the drugs, because he overdosed on coke, and I think Ariana is very real in a lot of people, and I think seeing it sometimes on screen, or seeing the reality of it, it does help people, or it kind of like helps people maybe relate to it in their life. And for me, I grew up with like that type of stuff around me, drugs or whatever, and I've never done any. So it's interesting for me to try to dip into what I've seen and like try to relate to it. And I lost my brother to drugs, and so when I read the script and he loses his brother to drugs, and it's exactly like that. It's, you don't expect it, and my brother lost it to a girl, pretty much was a very like seductive woman. She was doing it all the time. She got him to try it, and he did the same amount, overdose, died. And that's what my character and the other girl in it pretty much do. We seduce him, he thinks it's awesome, and he passes. And a lot of people think that they can try it once and be fine, or just see what it's like, and that's not true. I mean, it's, no matter what, it's dangerous. So I wanted to play this part for the fun, the layers, and just someone has to. So I hope I represent her well enough that I don't know. The devil's supposed to be beautiful and seductive, and in LA you find a lot of that type of evil, where it seems wonderful and it seems beautiful and perfect, and you're just getting dragged down deeper and deeper and deeper. And it was an interesting part for me to play.
Do you think that was almost meant to be in some ways?
Yeah, I think there's way too many people trying to work in this business that if you get something, it's probably meant to be. It's such a, not a gamble, because you work your butt off to get it, but yeah, I think anything that happens is meant to be.
Going back to the social media aspect of the film, how much do you feel a pressure to promote yourself on different platforms, and then how much of your own need to kind of be true to things? It sounds like you have a real need for that, and that's great, that you really want to stay true to yourself and to the things that are around you. How much of that plays into what you do on social media? Because it's a weird thing with an actor.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really weird. And when I first had moved to LA, I had Twitter and all of that, and like was very into Twitter. And 2 weeks ago, I did an interview on a new show called Truth, and they asked me to tweet. And I was like, I haven't tweeted in a couple years. And the producer looked and was like, you actually haven't tweeted like in a couple years. And I was like, yeah. And so I had to like redo my password and sign in and like tweet about this show. And now I'm tweeting because I found out my managers say that booking, you don't book as many jobs if you don't have that many followers, like, because they want your fan base to bring in to the show or film or anything. So it puts a certain pressure on you to be interesting. Where I'm a single mom, and my day is pretty much me and my son just hanging out, and he's one, so I'm not that interesting at all anymore. I'm usually just playing with my son, changing diapers, and seeing my friends whenever I can. But now I have to, on social media, be like, oh crap, I am working, like I am filming right now. I have to like post and I have to see things. Like that's a weird pressure to try to make my life look any type of fabulous, which I don't know. I mean, I guess it is fun. It's fun filming. It's fun to take pictures and like, I have a terrible memory, so I guess it's good for me to look back at anything that I posted in the past and be like, oh, I forgot all about this and doing that. So now for me, it's almost like online, I'm using it more of like a diary, a public diary, where like my son's first steps are on it, his like first little sentence, I don't know, holidays, filming, all of that stuff has become public, and yeah, it's strange to try to word it and make it interesting for other people, because to me it's my entire world, so it's interesting to me, but I don't know how to portray it to others, and I hope I'm doing it in an honest, good way, and that people are interested in it.
What if your son wants to be an actor?
That's fine. He's growing up in LA.
So it's good.
Yeah, his father and I met on Days of Our Lives, playing boyfriend and girlfriend. So he was created through the arts. Totally fine if he wants to do the arts. Whatever he wants to do. I'm a big believer. He can play every sport, do every instrument, do every dance, anything. And he can go to chemist camp, science camp. He can do any of it. I don't care. Since both of his parents are artists, I almost feel like he's going to end up being like a doctor or a lawyer, where me and the dad are going to be like, we can't help you with your homework because we don't know. So yeah, my parents support me and love me and help me in my dream. So I can only hope to be half as good as them with my son.
What advice would you give him? Let's suppose he's old enough to understand. I know you say he's 1 now, but
Yeah.
Let's suppose at 18 he decides he wants to start acting. What advice would you give him? In terms of
I'd say
keeping it real.
Yeah. I'd say keep your family the closest, because for me that's what keeps me alive. Like having my family and having that support. I would say that being in this business is 99% rejection, even after you make it or after you feel like you have succeeded. You're going to have just as much negativity coming at you as positivity for your whole life, and there's way too many people's opinions coming at you. I don't know, I hope that he'll have a thick skin, and I hope that he'll realize that the people closest to him are all that matter, and that his opinion on himself is all that matters, and I hope that he stays true to himself and true to what he thinks is right and wrong, and doesn't get manipulated or scared or pressured into going a way that will only pull him down. I hope he's happy.
Can someone develop a thick skin? Let's say they don't. I mean, most artists are pretty sensitive. That's what makes them great. So can someone develop it?
I think any artist gets rejected a lot more than people notice, because you go to auditions constantly, and most of it's a no, and sometimes you get a yes, but that's somebody literally telling you like, no, you're not good enough, or you don't look right, or this is wrong with you, or this is wrong with you, or like you just don't fit, or this person actually has like a connection that you didn't, like weirdest things. So I think I think you do just naturally start developing a thicker skin or realizing that it's out of your control. And the parts that are in your control is the fact that you work hard, you stay focused, you stay true to yourself, you stay healthy, and you are the best and honest you that you can be. And if you do that, and at the end of the day, if you were rejected or not, or if you booked something, you at least know that you are you, you're happy with yourself, and you did the best that you could, then everything else is out of your control. And I think that's the only way to have a thick skin as an artist, is to just know that you're doing you and that you are trying your best and that you're bettering yourself in every way.
I know I said earlier that the character Ariana, there's like varying degrees of that person,
Yeah.
and probably all of us. So what do you think most people would see in themselves with Ariana? Maybe they wouldn't go as far as some of the things that she's doing in the film.
Yeah.
But in terms of like selling themselves, it doesn't have to be sexually or with drugs, but
Yeah.
there could be parts, I mean, that we all sort of sell ourselves in some ways.
Well, I think everyone loses themselves in things, and it's hard for any human to look in the mirror directly at themselves and be honest with themselves. And with Ariana, I think she looks in the mirror and she's not honest at all. Like, I think she's completely, like, I think she's lost herself, but I can't think of one person that I know that hasn't been completely lost at one point or another. So I think people can relate to her mostly because sometimes you just get caught up and you're in a crowd, or you're in a situation, or you're in a new life. Everyone that pretty much leaves their parents and goes wherever they go, that's usually such a different whirlwind, whether you're in an apartment down the street, or you're just in college, or you're on the other side of the country or the other side of the world. You're all of a sudden an adult, and you make your own decisions, and sometimes you make decisions and it's not your opinion. You're using other people's because you're too afraid of your own. And you just keep doing that, and you're not honest with yourself. You can't even look at yourself in the mirror. And I think everyone has a point where they break and they're like, I don't know who I am. Like, I feel like 80-year-old people can still look in the mirror and be like, I don't know who I am. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know where I went wrong. I don't know what I missed. But everyone has regrets. And as a young adult in a whirlwind of new experiences, I think everyone can say that they've made horrible mistakes that they wouldn't want to admit to, and that a lot of people, instead of apologizing to themselves or to whoever and moving forward and trying to do a clean slate, a lot of people make the mistake of denying and going deeper and deeper and getting darker and darker because they don't want to admit the truth, because right when they do, that's the hardest part, is realizing that you are not perfect or that you messed up. And I think Ariana is Ariana is a troubled soul, and I think everyone is. So I think in many ways people can relate to her in any step of life. You start lying to yourself because it's easier.
So it's about, what, 3 a.m. right
Yeah.
now? We're doing this interview, and it's great because it's very raw and very real, and
Yeah.
I like that. What's next for you? I know you're going to be wrapped on this project, on Limelight,
Yeah.
and again, getting some sleep, and it'll be
I'm gonna go
back
sleep.
to normal. But what's next for you after this? Or are you in a state of not knowing just yet, and you like that? Or
I'm leaving for Paris and England for one of my best friend's weddings
oh wow,
in 2 weeks, for 2 weeks, and I'm leaving my son.
oh,
For the first time, I've never been away from him for like more than 24 hours, so that'll be really hard. And then I'm coming back, and I booked the part of Pocahontas in a new TV series called The Colony, and we're filming October through November.
Wow.
So that'll be fun, yeah. And it's my first like lead on a show, so that'll be overwhelming and exciting, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So lots of.
So far, that's
lot
what's
of things.
next.
Big things. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out a nanny for my child. That's actually my number one thought. Trying to figure out that, but that's what's next. And Pocahontas is definitely gonna be very different than Ariana.
Right.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
It'll be very fun.
For acting classes, Teri, what do you consider being active? I know they always say that actors should continue.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Act One Theater, which was a school and an after-school program, and then PTP, Professional Theater Program, through high school, every day after school, and where we'd study history of film. We'd put on different plays, musicals, and then when I moved out here, I got connected with Dennis Lavelle, who's an amazing acting coach, and I worked with Jocelyn Jones. But I always go back to Dennis because I feel like he's like my uncle. But I take private lessons from him, and I take his acting class, and I try to put up scenes and work on characters that I don't usually get booked as. So, or like things that I wish, like dream characters, or something that I wish I could do. I put those in class, and we'll do Shakespeare, work hard on monologues. I think as an actor, I know a lot of actors, when they start professionally working, they'll stop practicing in class, but you have so much time off, or at least I have so much time off, that I think it's like any other thing. It's not like riding a bike. I think you get rusty. It's like playing an instrument or singing or playing a sport. You have to keep practicing. You have to keep being open to new characters and working on it. So I'm a huge believer, no matter where you are in your success, that you should always be sharpening that tool.
What are the characters that you want to play that you haven't, or that you don't usually get to? Like what are those roles?
Growing up, I always played boys, and I always played comedic parts, like old ladies, because I did theater, so I always played really big comedic characters. And in film, I always play kind of like slutty Arianas. Like I play a lot of more scandalous women, and so in class I like to still visit comedy, and I try to bring comedy out in other things. And then my scariest thing is probably actually super dramatic and crying and tearing down all those walls and being like just super vulnerable. So I'm trying really hard to bring more gentle, soft, weaker characters out. That, I guess you're not weak, you're honestly the bravest if you're okay with being vulnerable and open in front of people. So for me, I think the hardest characters for me are definitely the ones that have really gone through trauma and that are showing all their wounds. It's my least favorite thing to play, so that's why I have to keep working on it. Until I love it, I have to be okay with it.
What's the most interesting piece of feedback someone's ever given you, a director, agent, casting director? Could be positive, negative, but it always stuck with you.
That's hard. I know there's probably something way better than this, or deeper than this, but I went from doing theater my whole life to film, and I think my biggest thing going to camera from stage was they were like, you have to be real. And I was like, I am real. Like, I'm feeling this. And they're like, yeah, but you have to bring it down, and you have to understand that every twitch, every move, every hair is seen on camera. It's right here. So you don't have to do this. You just have to be real. So whatever you're feeling, they'll see it in your eyes. Like, you don't have to make it this huge dramatic process. You can just pretty much shrink everything down and be as human and as natural as possible. And I grew up acting and thinking that I was being that, and I was. I just knew how to portray it huge. So one of my first directors taught me to, I guess that, just literally realize that you don't have to be doing these huge gestures and stag leaps across the stage to show an emotion. You can just shrink it down and show it with your soul and with your eyes.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Shrink it down. That's good.
Which is, I think, what anyone that ever did theater and switched to film probably got the exact same advice. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that one sticks with me, because to this day I'm like, fuck, the camera's right here. I have to remember that. They don't need stag leaps across the stage anymore.
Teri, how do you know when you're hitting your mark with a character or a scene?
I don't. I mean, I think I can feel if I'm being honest with the character and trying to portray what I want to portray, but you can think you're doing an incredible job and be completely off your mark. I don't know. I am one of the people that I usually can't even watch my work, you know, and it's scary. It's for me, I'll do the best I can, and I guess the advice I gave my son is the advice I'll give to myself. Just, I'll do the best that I can, and I can hope and pray that I hit the mark, but I can never say if I actually know if I did, especially in film, whenever there's so many takes and so many everythings. I can only hope and be true and honest with myself with the work that I'm doing and hope it's right.
What is that about, not being able to watch yourself, or even some people hear themselves in a recording?
I hate my voice. I hate my voice.
That's just so strange. I know, and I hear that from so many people about themselves.
I don't know. I think it's true for a lot of people, because if you watch yourself, you watch anything you do, and you're like, oh, I should have done this, or like, even when you're done, your character will evolve way after you have even filmed it, and you're like, I wish that I had this, or like you hear somebody say something and you're like, oh, I wish I knew that before I, like, just no matter what. I feel like for me, I never have seen something I've done and been like, yep, that's it, that's perfect, I'm great. I am always like, oh, I wish I didn't do this, or I wish I didn't do that, or I wish I got myself to this point. You're your toughest critic. I don't know whenever I've hit my mark. It's scary.
So you try not to watch yourself?
That's why I take classes, is because I'll force myself to watch myself. I'll force myself to, and I will always listen to every opinion and get every direction that I can. But whenever it's a finished product and I know I can't change it or fix it or help with it, yeah, it's cringeworthy, because you always wish that you did something different. Maybe not. Maybe that's just where I am in my career, that I know that I have a lot of growing to do.
Yeah, I've heard that from other people as well, and I've always been shocked from my point of view, seeing them, wondering why that would be. But yeah, I'm hearing that as a common thing from a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, but you will force yourself at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll watch it. I'm just not. I hope the audience is happier than I am with it. But you also, every single detail that you put into it, and like you know what you hope to portray, and obviously if you don't give 110% of what you were imagining, then it's going to be a disappointment in yourself or for yourself, which is horrible. It's a horrible thing to say. I don't know. I think no matter what you're in, you're your toughest critic, usually.
Are you competitive?
No. No. I'm more, if I'm in an argument, I'm totally the person that's like, no, you're okay. Okay. Like, yeah, okay. Sorry. I'm a huge I apologize about everything all the time. Like, sorry. I played sports growing up, and no. I think, like, if I saw somebody else even want to score a goal better than me or want to do anything like get past me or something, if, like, I don't know, I think I'm a pushover. I feel bad instantly. I'm not competitive, which is a very weird business for me to be in, but I think as an actress, you're only competing against yourself.
What if someone's competitive toward you, you're not bringing it to them, but you can sense it? And we've all been in those situations.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that comes from their own insecurities. Whenever, like, if I'm in an audition room and I know people are trying to psych people out, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything, because they should be focusing on their craft and focusing on studying and their character, or just like relaxing and not trying to psych other people out. That just shows that they're not happy with themselves. So I don't pay any energy to it. Otherwise, it'll just take me out of it anyway, so it means nothing.
Happiest moment as an actor?
I booked a part named Queenie in the musical Honk, and it was my first like girly character ever, and it was my first solo songs and all of this stuff, and it was a junior high performance, and I like bawled my eyes out because I was so excited, because I always played a bunch of characters in each show and like smaller parts and everything. And I remember that's the only part I wanted, and I wanted it so bad. And it was my first big success, I think. Like, for me, it was a tiny little like local play, and I died that I got the part that I dreamt to have. Like, I was auditioning for it. I was in my theater school. I wanted this character, and I got it. And I was excited because if you're going through puberty, you don't know if you're pretty. You're really insecure, and you're trying your hardest to fit in any way. And I got to play the princess. I got to play the part that I wanted, and that was the first time that I had that. And I went home and told my dad, and he was like, "So you're not an Oompa Loompa? You're not a tree? You get to play Queenie." And that was exciting. It's exciting to know that you're like, I worked really hard, and it was my dream, and it came true. And it's exciting as an actress for any booking, and that was my first one that's what I wanted. Like, I didn't want any character more. I wanted that one. So yeah, I think that was my most exciting. And obviously, I've had other jobs since, but it's the first one. Yeah.
Queenie.
Do
you feel like this is what you were meant to do, be an actor? Is there any other thing? I mean, I know you're a mom, so that's probably changes so much of your worldview, but up until that point, maybe, did you feel that acting is the only thing for you?
Yeah. I started acting since before I can remember. I have 4 older siblings, and we all put on plays and did all of that growing up and entertained, and I grew up dancing since preschool and singing, and grew up in musical theater, and I played sports and I did good in school, but nothing made me excited like the arts and like acting, and I'm not that great of a singer. And I just naturally, I guess, have always gone back to acting, and it's a therapeutic thing for me. it's a wonderful thing to be able to step into somebody else and bring your honest opinion out into someone that lived a different life. Like you get handed this character, this human that you've never met before, and you read about them, and you have to try to show them and create and be this person that you didn't live that life, but everyone can relate to everyone in some way or another. And it's all about trying to bring that to life. Pretty much, it's putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and trying to make it as real and as honest for yourself. And I love that. And I've lived like that my entire life. Anytime I'm talking to anybody, I try to truly understand and feel what they're feeling and, you know, be human. So with a character, it's, for me, it's really fun. It's fun homework, and it's fun putting it on, and it's fun living in their skin, and it's exhausting.